Hey, hello. Let's try one more time, okay? Let's see. Let's see if anybody comes in, okay? Hey, hello, Rebel Rose. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Well, let's see. What do we got here? Now we're gonna. Well, I haven't told this story in a long time, but I'm gonna tell it. It's a story about the wailing woman known as who cried for all eternity. The story goes that many years ago, a Spanish soldier married a young woman of indigenous descent. The couple lived happily and had two children. The problem mm, started when, owing to pressure from his wealthy family, the soldier left his beloved wife and married a Spanish woman from the Hidalgo class. Such was the fury of the abandoned wife that she drowned their two children in a nearby river and then escaped to the forest where she later killed herself. It is said that this that such was the enormity of her crime that her spirit still roams Mexico searching for the dead children. They say if you hear the wailing sound when in Mexico, it might be it might be the wind in the trees. It might be the wailing woman. They say if you hear it, you will get bad luck for the rest of your life. Ah, cool. I'm telling some scary stories. Here's one. It's called The Island of the Dolls, a tale that's rather more than its origins. It is centered around Mexico City, Erie, the island de la Isla de las Muñecas. A recluse by the name of Julian Barrera, who lived on the banks of a canal, noticed one day the dead body of a girl floating in the water. Accompanied by her doll, Barrera claimed that he could hear the screams of the dead girl, and as consequences, he hanged the doll amid the leaves and branches of the surrounding woodland to appease the spirit of the drowned girl. Others joined Barrera in hanging dolls, and today the trees on the small island is covered with thousands of them and ensure them whom present a spooky appearance. And if you're brave enough to take a walk here at night, you may well hear the whisper of these ghostly dolls accompanied accompany you on your stroll. And they also say if you remove a doll and take it away, you are soon to get a severe bad luck. Now we're going to go to La Planchada. This is a story. The story relates to a nurse called Eulalia who was always immaculately present when on duty with her crispy iron uniform. Apparently, Eulalia fell in love with a doctor at the hospital and they became engaged. All was proceeding well until the doctor left to go to a regular medical seminar held in another city. The doctor failed to return from the seminar, and Eulalia discovered that he had met and married another woman. Poor Eulalia went into decline and started to neglect both herself and her work. Following Eulalia's death, patients from the central hospitals reported seeing a ghostly appearance on the wards. The spectral nurse is said to heal the patients she appears before. Other versions of the story claim that the original nurse was cruel and consequently doomed to care for patients for eternity. Yeah, that's the story. Oh yeah, there's a lot of stories about dolls. Okay, yeah. Well, there's another legend. They say many years ago there was a poor peasant who worked in a ranch, and every day he would see how his bosses were dressed with fancy clothing, fancy jewelry, and all this stuff, and he dreamed of being a rich man. He dreamed. I said, man, someday he said, I'm gonna be like them. I'm gonna have my own ranch, horses, and I'm gonna be very rich. But as time went by, he was still the he was still the peasant and the worker of the ranch. Nothing had changed. So one day he decided. He said, "What if I make a deal with the devil so I can be rich, rich, rich?" The man said, "Wow, okay. Well, he would. He made a pact with the devil, and the devil made him rich, very rich. But the devil had another plan. Oh, thank you, Rebel Rose. I really appreciate that. So the devil had another plan. The devil was to take him away, farther away, farther away, to never to be seen ever, ever again. That was his plan. But the rich man, peasant, said, "No, you're not going to take me. You ain't taking me. Yes, I am going to take you, whether you like it or not." He did so many things to avoid the devil. And one day they discovered him dead. As time went by, people people in the village have reported seeing a figure, a horseman, a dark horseman, something like let me show it to you. People reported years later seeing a figure like this. like this right here. You see it? They reported seeing a guy like this, known as a charro negro. That means, in English, you might call him the black cowboy. You know. Oh yeah, they made movies about this, many movies. But the movie they made about him was not actually a scary movie. It was actually about a hero, kind of like kind of way before the Lone Ranger came into the scene, something like this. Something like this. No, no. Something like this. A movie that came out in around a movie that came to that they played in movie houses in 1940. Yeah. So now let's go to another story. Now we're going to talk about this house right here. You notice how the window, this window here, let me put the screen a little bit down up. Notice the window, how it's crooked. Well, legend has it, they say that the people that put it there believe that it'll keep evil spirits away. Believe it'll keep evil spirits away. Well, as they say back in the 40s, that building was a small clinic. It was attended by a doctor, and his mom was like sort of like the receptionist who would greet patients coming in, offer them coffee or water or whatever. Yep. So one day, the patients, I mean the people, the neighbors, noticed something very, very creepy, strange. They say, "Hey, the doctor, how come he's not taking any consultations? I mean, I want to go the other day because I wasn't feeling that good or something, and there was no answer. What the hell?" So everybody was doubting what the hell happened. I mean, what? They were doubting. They were wondering what would really happen. So one day they called the cops. The cops came in. Two policemen got out of the car, knocked on the door, and the door opened. It was the elderly mom, and she told him, "Hi, how are you?" The policeman said, "Ma'am, we these people are very concerned about you of you. They're very concerned, and they told me that they were worried about you and your son. They were worried that something might have happened to you guys because you guys haven't opened the clinic. No, we've been here. We doing good. Nothing has happened to us. Okay. The cop says, okay, we believe you. Is your son here? Yes, he's upstairs in his room. So the cops and a couple of people decided to go up there. They knocked on the door, and the son came and said, "Hey, how are you? What's up? What are you guys doing here up in my room?" The cop says, "Look, we came. I came here because these people were concerned. They were concerned of you and your mom for your safety, and they were worried. That's why we came here." My mom? That can't be true. My mom's been dead for the past 2 weeks. No, what? Come on, it can't be true. We we just talked to your mom. She was downstairs. She told me you were here. Look, my mom's been dead for the past 2 weeks. Okay, and end of story. Okay, okay. People have freaked out, and when they came there, and when they went upstairs, when they went downstairs, the old woman was dead, and she was like as cold as ice, being dead for the past 2 weeks. The cops and the people freaked out. They said to go upstairs and confront the son. But when they got upstairs, they noticed something really creepy. The son was hung. The son had hang himself up. But it didn't just happen. He had done that 2 weeks before because some say he had killed his mother and he couldn't take the grief of what he had just done. And the people left the house all freaked out. Years later, the house, they closed the house. And years later, some relatives came in. They took some stuff out. And according to legend, the relatives were into the occult. And they decided to make this house, to build that window you see there. Because they say it protected from evil spirits. The legend has it, if somebody damages that window, breaks it, huh, they say some evil spirits will come and haunt everybody who's inside. That's the legend. Yeah. Well, I passed through this house many times when I was a kid. On my way home from the movies because the movie house was just around the corner. I would pass through them. Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So this is how the house looks now. And right here looks like it. Oh God.